Let's face it, there is a massive difference between the quality of care and treatment that you're going to get at a private medical facility as opposed to the ones that's offered by the government. And let me guess, if you happen to take ill, where would you feel more comfortable? Where would you think you're going to get the most possible healing or the best chance of recovery? Would it be at a private facility or at a government facility? Now, I'm guessing that you're leaning towards a private facility, and that's the reason that you're watching this video. But the big issue is when it comes to private medical care, medical aid is extremely expensive, or perhaps that's how you perceive it to be right now, because you haven't actually watched this video in full. And that's the whole purpose of this video. I'm going to be guiding you exactly how to choose a medical aid. And I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips on how to choose the best medical aid. Now, I define the best in terms of 2 ways, which I'll share with you shortly. I'm Devanika, and I've been helping individuals with their financial planning since 2004. But in this YouTube video and this particular series, I'm guiding you step by step what you need to do in order to choose the best medical aid. And let's head over to the iPad so we can start to have a look at what are those 5 secrets. Now, I'm defining best in terms of 2 ways. I'm looking in terms of comprehensive. So I want to show you how to get a comprehensive medical aid, but at the same time, you want something that's affordable, right? Because you don't want to have a medical aid that you can afford right now, but it's too expensive in the future, and suddenly you realize you can't afford it, and then you're without medical aid. At the same time, you don't want to focus on something that's extremely affordable, so you can manage the premium now, but at the time when you need it, you realize, hey, this is not a comprehensive medical aid, meaning it's not able to pay the medical bills in full, it's not able to pay your doctor's bills in full. So when I'm looking at best, and when I share the secrets with you, I'm looking with these 2 elements in mind. Now, one quick disclaimer before we get started. This particular video and all the videos that you see on the YouTube channel, it's not designed to provide you with advice, right? Because I don't know your personal set of circumstances. But this is going to provide you with secrets that's taken me decades to find out, and you can implement immediately. And once you know these secrets, it's going to help you to choose which one is most appropriate for you. Again, remember, by the end of this video, you'll be able to find out the one that's going to be best for you. Also, one other tip, I'm sharing with you 5 secrets, but in the medical aid series that I put out, I go into greater detail and you start to explore more of the other tips and again, how you can fine tune this, right, in the best way possible. Now, the first secret that I want to share with you is with regards to the power of network hospitals. Now, what is network hospitals? Well, there are just 2 ways in which you can choose your medical aid from a hospital facility perspective, right? You can choose to have treatment any hospital in the country, meaning if you took ill, you can go to any hospital anywhere in the country and the medical aid is going to pay in full, right? You don't have to be concerned of that. Or the alternate option, which is what I'm sharing with you now, is you could use a network. Now, pay careful attention because this is where a lot of people lose a lot of money. It's where medical aids make a huge profit for members, right? Because most of us, and I'm guessing you're feeling the same way, you want to know if you take ill, everything's going to be covered, right? You don't want to have this fear that you're going to run out of money or have some unexpected medical bills. So because of that, you might want to lean towards making sure that you're covered at any hospital. But here's the secret. I want you to list at least 3 hospitals that you would want to get treatment from if you took ill, right? So you're going to list 3 hospitals. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to title this as A, B, C. Now, here's the thing. If you took ill and you're going to have all your treatment done at hospital A, let's just say it was a heart attack and you wanted to have treatment naturally, and the treatment is getting done at hospital A. And then sometime later, you had knee surgery, and then you go back to your favorite hospital. Why? Because this hospital is closest to you, right? It's the one that's convenient for you to go to. Maybe you've got relationships with the people there, the medical professionals. You just feel comfortable being in that space, right? Thereafter, you have some other medical condition, and again, you're going back to hospital A. Now, why I'm sharing this with you is we all creatures of habits, right? We don't like change. We like to have things to be constant. So if you've built this relationship and you know, hey, this is the place you want to go for treatment, I'm sharing this secret with you. If you choose a medical aid that covers you for any hospital anywhere in the country, naturally it's going to include A. But aside from A, I want you to see it's also going to include D, E, F, G, H. It's going to include a whole string of other hospitals that you're never going to get treatment from, right? Let's face it, you can only just be in one hospital at a time. But what takes place in this case, when you're choosing any hospital, is you're having to pay for this. You're having to pay for the entire range. So the first secret is simple. When you are choosing a medical aid, I want you to have a look at which hospital is closest to you, which is the one that you feel comfortable with. And when you are approaching the medical aid company, you tell them, hey, I want to go to this hospital. It's hospital A. Do you have a network option for hospital A? Right? Do you have a network option for hospital A? Now, here's what happens. The medical aid would approach certain networks. It could be the Life Network. It could be the Netcare network, that group of hospitals, right? And the arrangement is simple. They might say, look, we've got 100,000 members. We've got 200,000 members. Would you give us a better rate if those members use your network, right? If they use your network of hospitals. So if the medical aid is getting a better rate, they can then pass that rate down to you, right? But notice now there's a restriction. What's happening is the medical aid says, look, I'm going to charge you a lower premium. So you're going to pay a lower premium here because you're using a network hospital. But the thing is, you've got to make sure that you're going to a network hospital. You can't go to something that's out of a network hospital because then you're going to pay a co-payment, right? You're going to pay more than what you should. But as I said in the beginning, if you are only using this hospital, then guess what? It's not going to be any difference in terms of your treatment, because whether you choose your medical aid as any or network, if you're using the same hospital and it's in a network, you're just paying more if you're choosing any. So that's your first secret. You're going to list out 3 hospitals that you want to get treatment with and check with your medical aid if they have a network option. The moment you do that, I want you to compare, right? And actually comment below. Tell me what's the difference in terms of pricing if you had to go with any hospital versus if you had to choose a network hospital using the hospital that is most convenient for you. And when you observe that, you're going to see how significant the saving is going to be. Now, let's get started onto the secret 2. You're going to absolutely love this one. It's shocking, right? And here's why. You can choose a medical aid, and I speak about this in the other series that I do, right? When it comes to insurance and financial services, there's a tendency to think about what's the worst that could happen, right? And when you getting something positioned from that perspective, when you're always thinking about fear, like this could happen, that could happen, the insurance company could play on that, right? They could play on that, and then it means they could sell you things that you don't actually need, which is why I'm sharing with you. I want you to start to focus on what you need, right? So instead of focusing on that, just focus on need. So exactly what it is that you need from the medical aid. And here's the secret. I only want you to focus on a 12-month period. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is when you start a medical aid, and if you're on a medical aid already, you know this, right? The medical aid starts new benefits in January every year, which means towards the end of every year, round about October, you get a choice to change your medical aid, meaning they're asking you, do you want to stay on the same medical aid option or do you want to change, right? Now, in any event, the medical aid is going to change. They're making some kind of adjustments to it, right? If nothing else, the price is going to be changed. So what it means is you actually are choosing a medical aid every single year. Now, why this is key is often, and I want you to avoid making the mistake, you might be afraid, hey, I've got to use the most comprehensive medical aid because what if I end up having a heart attack? What if I have cancer? What if I need to have bypass surgery? What if this happens? So there's a whole lot of what ifs. But that's only because you're focusing on a very long time. You're thinking, hey, this could happen in the future, like 10 years from now. I'm saying to you, let's focus over a 12-month period because in any event, you're getting to renew this. So if you're focusing over 12 months, it's a shorter horizon. You're just looking 12 months ahead. And you look at, hey, what can happen in the next 12 months? So when let's use an example of knee surgery, right? So you're having knee surgery and that's happening in the next 6 months. Then you can make an adjustment based on your medical aid. So for example, if you're having knee surgery, let's say you're in October now, and you're getting the choice to change your medical scheme, right? And the knee surgery is happening somewhere here, which we'll say is in March, right? We'll say that the knee surgery is happening here in March. You can always change your medical scheme for that particular year if need be, right? To accommodate what's happening in the future year. But if nothing's changing, then you don't really have to adjust it. So the secret I'm sharing with you is you want to just plan over 12 months. You don't have to go all crazy and afraid that all sorts of things are going to happen to you. Just look at what's happening 12 months down the line, what sort of treatment that you need that's likely to come up in the next 12 months. And then that's how you ensure that the medical aid is going to be comprehensive as well as cost effective. Now here's another thing, you could go into a high option if you need extra treatment. And then the following or the end of that year, you could downgrade again because you don't need the treatment. So you can adjust this every single year, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean you're coming out into a whole new option within the same medical scheme. So it could be Discovery, Bonitas, MedHealth, whichever option, but you don't have to change providers. They offer you a different range within them. So this is your secret. Think in terms of 12 months, don't think so many different things. So what's going to happen over the next 12 months, knowing that you can adjust it, right? The next thing is from your chronic medication, you want to make sure that the chronic medication is covered in full. Right? Now, here's the thing. Every medical aid has what's called prescribed minimum benefits, right? Which they refer to in a short form, PMB. This is prescribed minimum benefits, meaning it's the minimum that a medical aid can provide you with. I'm going to use an example here just to make the understanding be easy. Let's say you have high blood pressure. So high blood pressure, and you're on treatment for this, right? Now, what takes place is naturally this is something, let's say you have your chronic medication for this, you've got that, and the medical aid, depending again which option that you have, they would cover a certain number of high blood pressure medication. Again, I'm using an example. Let's just say you're using the base medical aid, so you're using the most basic one, and your basic medical aid, let's say it covers 5 different types of high blood pressure medication. So 5 different types of meds, right, are covered in here. Then you have another option. Let's say it's maybe like a medium option with your medical aid. It's now covering 15 types of medication for high blood pressure. And you could have the most comprehensive one, and the most comprehensive one is covering 30 different types of medication. Now, I'm using an example, right? Here's what I want you to do. The secret here is you want to go and find out what's the formulary. What's the formulary? Because it doesn't matter whether you've got the cheapest medical aid or the most expensive medical aid. All you need to do is find out what's the formulary, and the formulary is a list of medication that the medical aid covers. So again, your doctor is going to be prescribing the medication, right? Let's say your doctor's prescribing, I'm going to use an example. Let's say the medication is Med A, right? That's the medication. It's called medication A. If medication A is included in this list here, the basic list, then it's covered in full by the medical aid, right? I'll say it again. If medication A is in the formulary for your basic one, then it's covered in full. Here's the secret. If it's not, if medication A is not included in the 5, then all you do is get your formulary, print it out, take the formulary over to your doctor and say, look, this medication that you prescribed for me is not on the formulary. Can you choose one of the 5 that's here? And if the doctor prescribes one of the 5, guess what? The medical aid is covering it in full. You see? Now, the same happens along the way. In terms of your medium option, they're naturally going to cover more. But notice from a price perspective, right? As your price is going up, then the medical aid itself will start to cover you for more options, more types of medication. But again, you want to be smart about this, right? If you want to make this thing to be affordable as well as comprehensive, you want to make sure that the chronic medication is covered in full, but the premium is not through the roof. You can take advantage of the formulary. Now, here's a special bonus tip for you. What if you could do it in advance? So you take the medication that the doctor's prescribing, submit that through to the medical scheme before. If you're looking to join the medical scheme, submit it to them in advance. Tell them, hey, my doctor's prescribed medication A. Is it on the option? So then they can provide that to you. If it's not on the option, they can provide you with the formulary. So then you can take that through to your doctor, right? So chronic medication can be covered in full. You just want to, again, make sure that it's part and parcel of this. And then you can have this, if you're following this guidance and using the formulary, you'll be able to have this covered. Now, secret number 4, again, this is a cracking secret because it's going to save you a fortune in terms of your premiums, right? The medical aid can pay in one of 2 ways. They can either pay a medical aid rate or they can pay a private rate. Now, again, I'm going to use an example here because I want to make the math look easy, right? Let's say you're going in for some kind of medical treatment, we call it a heart attack, and now you're dealing with a cardiologist, right? The medical aid could have a medical aid rate. So this is a medical aid rate. I'm writing as MAR, medical aid rate, and that we'll say is 100 Rand, meaning the medical aid is going to pay 100 Rand, right? That's the ceiling of that rate. That's the medical aid standard, right? That's been agreed on across that industry. So they're saying, hey, we're going to pay at 100 Rand. But on your, with a specialist, right? This is a private, yeah. The cardiologist or certain specialists, they may say, hey, we're not contracted to medical aid rates, we contracted out of, meaning they want to charge above a medical aid rate, right? More. What could be the more? It could be 2 times, it could be 3 times, it could be 5 times, right? Whatever the figure is. So it could be a lot more than what the medical aid rate is. Now, what that means if you're getting the treatment is this. The medical aid is going to pay. Let's just use an example to say that the doctor is going to bill you, in this case, 2 times, right? We'll say 3 times, which means the doctor is billing you 300 Rand. Now, of the 300 Rand bill, the medical aid is going to pay a portion of it, right? So they're going to pay the 100 Rand. And it means you're going to have to pay the balance. So that 200 Rand, you have to pay. Now I'm going to guide you on certain things, right? Naturally, if you're choosing a medical aid that pays at a private rate, the premium for that medical aid is going to be higher because the medical aid is paying a private rate. Meaning if you chose a medical aid that paid at 3 times the medical aid rate, that means it's paying the full 300 Rand. It's covered in full by the medical aid because you went with the medical aid option that was private, right? It was 3 times the medical aid rate. But what if it's out of your pocket? What if you can't afford a private medical aid rate because it's just too expensive for you? So here's the secret. You can still choose an option that has a medical aid rate. So you're still leaning with that. But then you go and approach the specialist in advance. So you let the specialist know, look, my medical aid is paying according to a medical aid rate. Can you charge me according to that? Can you bill me according to that rate? So if the specialist is agreeing, then you know you're still getting the same type of treatment. You're not having to pay extra because they're agreeing to bill you at the same rate. So again, you want to negotiate that, right? The second thing is, if let's just say the specialist says, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I only bill at a private rate. Then you can go back to your medical aid and say, look, can you give me a list of doctors, specialists for this particular, whatever it is, that the condition that you're going through that you need treatment, like let's say it's a heart condition. So can you give me a list of cardiologists that will charge a medical aid rate or that's contracted to you? Then the medical aid can supply that to you. Remember earlier on, I spoke to you about network. Network doesn't necessarily only apply to hospitals. Network can also apply to medical professionals, right? So there's some professionals who say, look, we're going to be providing the service and we'll work according to the rate that you are paying over, in which case you're able to get an added benefit here. So you want to negotiate that upfront. What happens again if you can't find the provider? Well, here's another secret for you. Here's another bonus. You want to work with what is called gap cover. Now, what is gap cover? It's like a medical aid shortfall, or it's a medical shortfall payment, right? It's not medical aid, but it's this. If the medical aid is only paying 100 Rand, gap cover can fill in the difference for you. Now, there's certain conditions that you want to be aware of when it comes to gap cover. So make sure you go through that. I'll cover that in a separate video, but gap cover is the second solution for you. So first solution is you want to negotiate with providers. If you can't do that, remember, you can always go back to the medical aid and ask them for a list of providers that are billing at medical aid rate. If that's not working, then you want to move into gap cover. Gap cover is very affordable, so you can get that in, and then it just enhances this offer, right? Now, there is something extra that I cover in a separate video where I talk about prescribed minimum benefits, because there are certain instances where the medical aid, even though it's supposed to pay at a medical aid rate, it will pay at a private rate for you. So it's going to pay more than what it should have been paying, right? There's certain instances. I'll cover that in a separate video in the series. So make sure you watch the entire series to get full understanding of it. The last thing I want to share with you, secret number 5 here, is you want to avoid waiting periods and you want to avoid penalties, right? Now, what's the waiting period? See, medical aids don't really have much in terms of their defense, right? According to our law, government's trying to have as many people as possible. They want all of us to be on medical aid, which means medical aids sort of have their hands tied. But they have some windows of opportunities where they can sort of force you to get onto the scheme quickly, right? So here's the thing. If you have a break in cover, meaning you have a medical aid here, this is when your medical aid is coming to an end. I'm going to use a time period, right? Let's say it's coming to an end in January. This could be because you are changing jobs. This could be because you lost your position. But whatever it is, and now your medical aid is coming to an end, right? It's ending in that January month. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you can start a new one straight away. So you start the new one in Feb, which is the first of the following month. You don't have a break in cover, right? If you don't have a break in cover, then you know everything is continuing as normal. The problem is if you have a break in cover, so let's say you don't do that, you start, it's ending in January. This is again an example. And you're only starting this medical aid, let's say in March. Now notice what happened. You had a gap here, right? Your cover ended in January. You started this in March. You had a 1 month gap. And because you had a 1 month gap, the medical aid can then start to put in what they call waiting periods, right? And the waiting period is this. They could tell you, look, we are giving you a 3-month general waiting period, or we're giving you a 12-month waiting period on whatever your existing medical conditions are, which means for 12 months, if you have a chronic condition, you really can't get treatment, which is problematic, right? So the way to counter that, the way to avoid the waiting period is when one medical aid is coming to an end, the new medical aid, that's when you want the new medical aid to start. So you prepare in advance, right? So if you know the medical aid is coming to an end in January, for example, say 3 months before that is when you want to start preparing, get to know what's the right medical aid, and make sure you're getting your paperwork done. So come the 1st of February, the new scheme starts, you avoid the waiting period. So that's key. You don't want to have a break in cover, right? The second thing is in terms of penalties. Now, medical aids have what they call a late joiner penalty. Late joiner penalty. What this is it's a penalty if you are coming onto the medical aid older than 35, right? Older than 35. This is, if you are 35 and older, they're now going to start to charge you extra, right? Older than 35. Now, obviously, you want to avoid that because it's not an extra once-off payment. This is key, so pay close attention. It's not like it's once-off and it's never going to happen again. That is a penalty that's going to be there every single month. Every single month, you're going to pay extra. I'm going to use an example so that this makes sense to you, right? If you were supposed to pay 1,000 Rand as a premium, and the penalty is, just using again an example, let's say the penalty is 25%. What it means is the penalty now at 25% is an extra 250 Rand. So the actual premium that you're going to pay every single month is 1,250. But notice this, you're paying 1,250, you should have been paying 1,000 Rand. So you're paying more for something than what you should have been paying because you joined the medical aid rate late. Now here's the secret. They do look at your previous years of cover, meaning if you were on medical aid before, they can take that into account. And here's how this thing works, right? So let's just assume that you were on medical aid for 10 years, right? This is year 1 to year 10, which means you had 10 years of service. And for some reason, you had a break in cover here, right? You had a break in cover in that period. Then you want to go back and you want to join the medical scheme now. So you want to join here. This is, let's say, 15 years down the line, you had a 5-year break, right? Now, if at that point in time you are older than 35, let's say you are 40 years old, are you going to be charged extra? Technically, you're supposed to, right? Because now I said, if you are older than 35, you're going to be charged extra. However, the medical aid is going to take into account the fact that you were on medical aid previously. So they'll take into account that you were on medical aid before, which means in the eyes, and this is key, so pay close attention, in the eyes of the medical aid, even though you're 40 right now, they're going to give you the credit of the 10 years cover that you had before, which means they're going to say you are 40 minus 10, which is 30. And in the eyes of the medical aid, you're going to be seen as a 30-year-old. And because you are below 35, it means you're not going to be charged a late joiner penalty. So the key here is you want to be able to start your medical aid as soon as possible, like before 35, so that you're able to get cover. Because let's face it, you know that the older we get, the more ill we tend to get, right? And the medical aid knows that. So they're trying to avoid a system where the scheme depletes of capital. They're trying to avoid a system where you have somebody who is in their 60s who wants to join the medical aid, never been on the medical aid before, and suddenly this person now is going to have multiple claims. And if that person is having multiple claims, guess what? It's going to affect you because the medical aid is going to say, hey, we're paying too much of money here. We have to bump up the premiums. So suddenly you are paying more than what you should for the medical aid. So as a way to balance this out, the medical aid has this thing called a late joiner penalty. So if you are joining the medical aid late, or this person is joining the medical aid late, you don't want to be penalized because of them, which means the medical aid is going to say, hey, that person gets charged extra. You are going to get charged the normal price. Now, naturally, the way to avoid this is you want to start early, which means at age 35 or before is when you want to start to have cover, right? Now, I hope you found the video helpful. You've got 5 powerful secrets here. You can easily implement them right now to drop your medical aid premium. And I really want to hear from you. So post comments below. Tell me which of the secrets you're going to put into practice. Let me know how much of money the secrets have helped you to save. If you found the video helpful, click the thumbs up sign and also subscribe to the video so that you get to see, to the channel so that you get to see whenever I'm putting out new videos. Now, this is just one video of the medical aid series. I go through this in depth, right? Now, all you need to do is follow the videos that I'm posting, get an understanding from it, make notes of the learnings and implement it. And I promise you, as you start to work through this, you'll have a better understanding of this. You'll feel a lot more confident when it comes to choosing a medical aid. And you're going to know the secrets, right? Before it reaches a stage that you're having to pay extra money or find out that the medical aid is not covering something in full. So all you need to do is just watch the videos, make your notes, and that's going to be your secret to ensuring that you're getting the best, most comprehensive and affordable medical aid. I'll see you in the next video.